1, 2, 3. How about Peter? Karen?
I didn't hear anybody. Maybe Ralph.
How should be here? He might be held up. An hour ago, he was expected to be here.
Well, we were just talking, welcome back to November, you know, the weather-wise.
Yeah, someone trying to come in.
Before we going formally, we were just talking, when we first got started, it seemed as though we sort of scanned the horizon and said, you know, this is where the target-rich environment is right here. We did some things with the transfer station, with bags and everything. I think we've got another, we're at a place now where a lot more ideas on the table, and maybe instead of trying to shotgun, do everything at once, maybe we need to focus on another 2 or 3 ideas and just move forward, and sort of do things incrementally, because I think we're,
Yeah, some of them are time sensitive.
well, oh no, you know, and that's what I'm saying.
Stuff.
If there's some time sensitive, and that's,
Yeah.
that should be.
Missy's good at fleshing that out.
Okay.
That'll help with what you're just saying, because those could be grouped together.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Hello.
We got Zoom going already, so just waiting for. We have enough now?
I don't know. 4 here, out of how many?
Peter's missing and Barbara's missing.
I would say we're
We're
good.
gonna call them. You know, I spoke with her weeks ago, and I don't know if you think, give me a call back. I've heard from her since.
Okay, call the Waste Reduction Committee to order. We would, let's pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get on the other side, man, so I don't have
Good afternoon, Missy.
I'm fine.
Need a member's introduction? Yeah. Do you know who I am?
Sometimes. Depends on what I need.
You know who I am.
Okay. On first on the old business, Elizabeth took off. Discuss the swap shed. So who would like to dive into that?
The what?
The swap shed.
He's not coming today.
Right there.
I'm right here.
Oh. Can't make it.
No.
Yep, I couldn't make it in person today.
Thank you.
So the grants have opened up, which means the grant for the shed is something that you can apply for. And I think we spoke at the last meeting, that is your plan to apply for that shed for the $6,000 to cover that. And then any additional expenses, you would be able to use your RDP funding that you already have earned in the past. Is that correct?
Correct. So this printout we have from you You see what I'm holding up?
Yep,
So the highlighted ones, we're not going after, it's the ones that are not highlighted, correct? The swap shed and the universal waste.
yes, you're going after the swap shed. You can only go after one.
Even better. That's, we want to be more focused on our efforts right now.
Yep, yep,
That's what I'm
yep.
hearing.
So whoever will be filling out the grant this year, make sure that gets submitted. The earlier, the better.
By early
And-
June, I believe.
It will be due June 2nd
Right.
at 11:59 PM. Try not to wait that long because I like to kind of look them over. And that way I can make sure there's no mistakes and we can catch them. But when you do it at like 11 o'clock that night, it's a little hard. So,
And that's just for the shed. We can work out the details after. The main thing is go after the grant, correct?
exactly, exactly.
Does that help
So
the
that-
discussion today?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep, yep. So the grant, like I said, the deadline is June 2nd. It goes through a review process and then usually late fall, the grant awards are released. So at that point, then you know whether you've gotten the grant and then the funds will be released once all the paperwork is signed. Ralph has some stuff he has to sign, and then once that's signed, they release the money for it. So it'll probably be, around Christmas time and all that's kind of taken care of.
Right. So, yeah, so it
But-
doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly. Right, but it gives you time to kind of plan things and where you want to put it and, what, regulations you want to have around it. The biggest ones really seem to be, what you want to take and what you don't want to take. And the other thing is when I'm talking to the other towns who are in the same situation you are, it's easier to add something in than take it away. So one of the items that's very popular is not taking any electronic items right now in the beginning, because you want to kind of be able to figure out how your volunteers are working, and that kind of thing, with not having to test and try out electronic items each time. So you want to make it as simple as possible right now. Once everything goes smooth and stuff, you can then add the electronics in once you know that you've got a good ground support with your volunteers, that they can actually test things out and that kind of thing. You can also get a better handle on your spacing within the facility and that kind of stuff. So it's always easy to start small and add in more.
Talking about the details of both the inside.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Building.
I think she's just talking about general categories of things to accept. I have a question.
Right,
I'm sorry, go
just
ahead.
want to make sure, Mr. Perry has a question for you. Just
Yep.
speak up if you cannot hear him.
Okay,
Can you-
I can't.
Can you hear me? Yeah, regarding
yeah.
the electronics, brought a question to mind. And you said when electronics come in, can they be tested, et cetera? Would they be tested and then put on the shelf? Who accepts the liability for something like that? Electronics in particular, or anything that uses electricity? Let me try that.
So just like anything at the recycling center, the town accepts the liability. I mean, you're accepting, people coming in there, they could fall in a hole and break their ankle. They're tossing in their bulky waste items, they can fall over the edge. So it is it is on the town. So this is a town
Okay.
service that you're providing, and that would be part of it.
Okay,
Once the town-
thank you.
Once the town
Yep.
accepts it, the liability passes.
Yeah. I want to clarify that for myself. Thank you.
Yeah. So there is an organization, and Tom can tell me if you participate in this or not, but I think it's called MIA, MIIA, and it's a municipal something insurance association. And they provide some grants and some information and insurance for municipalities, and they cover a lot of transfer station recycling centers. So I don't know if Dayton uses them or not.
Oh, we do not.
Okay.
Is any other questions on the shed? All right, who's gonna be the person pursuing the grant?
I know who isn't.
You're not? Okay. Mr. Neely, you're not?
No.
No? So it's one of the two that are not here, right?
I'd say so.
Or myself, right?
There you go. I'll take a crack at it. Right, that's what I do.
All right, so everyone knows, myself or Ralph will be making sure this is pushed forward. So we got roughly 30 days.
Isn't she gonna be a resource when you were doing?
Yes, she's a resource, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, well, she wants to see it before we actually submit it too.
okay.
Okay, Missy, it looks like Ralph or myself will be making sure this is going through.
Excellent, good. And I can't guarantee you're going to get the grant, but it's something that I have not heard of anyone ever being turned down for it, so it's pretty much a
Okay.
done deal, I think.
Missy, how do you want us to get it to you before we officially submit it?
So what you actually do is when you go into retrack,
Mhm.
you can save it and just let
Okay.
me know that it's in there, and then I can actually go in and look at it. I can't edit it or do anything to it, but I can review it.
Okay, thank you.
Because as you'll see that some of the questions will ask, where it's going to go, if does it have town approval? Will you have like a pad, set down for it, or, ask those types of questions on it.
Good.
All right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to, who wanted to recycle the compost bins on the agenda? Was it me?
Me,
Have to make
It was you.
votes on that.
Okay.
that was me.
Oh, yeah, we've got a good point. We've got to review, discuss, act. So
Do we have to make a motion on that?
For what?
Move to pursue the swap shed grant?
We did,
second.
well, we move forward with it last meeting.
Oh, you did?
Okay, so this is just continuation of, okay.
But did you have the people to do it at the last meeting?
Yeah, I think you made the motion.
Yeah,
We had the names of the people who
everybody was
were
there.
gonna, okay.
It tested me.
No, I'm not. Second.
We did make the
If
motion.
I'm testing
You
anybody,
did
I'm
make the motion.
testing myself.
I believe
Okay.
Mark Seconded.
All right, let's talk about compost bins.
Okay, so Tom, you thought you put it on there, so do you want to talk about your thoughts about compost bins first?
Right now, we currently take compost at the transfer station. The highway department mixes it routinely, like this weather right now being moist, it's a good time to mix it. The temperature was up throughout this winter, which I was surprised. I think it's been almost 60 days since the last time I turned it.
Ooh.
So last year's stuff is already black. It's coming out nice.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Excellent. So let me clarify what I mean by compost. I don't necessarily mean just yard waste and leaf and brush and all that stuff. So I actually mean the food scraps and that kind of thing as well. So my topic of compost is different than your topic. So what do you do with all your compost when it's done and good right now?
It's free for the residents with a transfer station sticker, and I use it in projects in the town sometimes. But a lot of times it ends up in people's gardens.
Oh, good. Excellent. And so do you have anything left over, or is it pretty much?
Yes, I have quite a bit of, yes, can you increase the volume, please? Thank you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry,
we
that's the other
have-
reason I'm not there. My voice is not the greatest right now. Sorry.
Yeah, at the transfer station, I get a little over 100 yards available. At another location, I have about 300 yards not being used. However, that 300 yards, I used to mix the street sweepings with to make it more on the loom side. And after we found out a lot of this was ended up in people's gardens, we didn't want them to do that. Because we didn't
Yeah.
have it tested, there could be the antifreeze or the mercury and all that stuff. So we'll still use that stuff first in the town projects where it's safe.
Okay.
And the stuff that's at the transfer stations is the clean stuff.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. So what I mean by compost is for residents who, and this is a way to kind of help you save a little bit of money and a little bit of, tonnage. So having backyard compost bins for your residents, which allows them to mix their own yard waste directly in there and also their food scraps. So they would be composting, and to be honest, it's a much richer and even better compost mix than what you have, is because you have that really interesting balance of like eggshells and fruit peels and that kind of thing as well. So this actually will kind of help reduce your tonnage for your trash, because approximately anywhere from 20 to 30% of municipal household trash consists of food. And so we're trying to remove that. And basically you're paying for this. So when you pay your bill with Borges, you're paying by the tonnage as well as, the pickup fees. So anything you can do to reduce your bag weight at the curb is beneficial to you and your residents. And again, if you don't have to deal with, the yard and leaf waste at the transfer station, then again, it can stay a little bit more local in your residents' yards than you having to deal with it. Again, it just makes it easier. So we encourage residents to and municipalities to have backyard composting options for the residents. You can use your RDP funds to purchase bins for the residents. And the other reason I'm kind of promoting this right now is that on the RDP grant that I talked about last time, is that you can actually get a point, and that equals money for providing these to your residents, these bins. You can give the bins away for free, but I would not. They're about $65. You can subsidize like maybe half the cost of the bins to your residents, or if you want to do, have them pay the full amount, you can do that as well. You can do anything. I would encourage you, if you do it, that you would subsidize it to kind of encourage your residents to start doing these programs. Some towns, I really wouldn't suggest this very much, but in Dayton, when I go down there, I see everyone has pretty sizable yards. And so, this is not going to be like, the main focal point of your yard kind of thing. It can kind of be tucked away in the back. So I would encourage you to do something like this and then have education programs as well, so that Dayton residents can kind of help themselves and help you at the same time. So that's kind of what I'm throwing out there by compost.
Question, what is the volume of this typical bin that you're talking about?
So they come in different sizes. The one I'm actually going to propose, I think it's 65 gallons. It's pretty big. And they do come in different sizes. It is available on the state contract. What I'm doing for right now, if you want to go ahead and order them from the state contract, go ahead and do that. In the meantime, if you want to like just try out a few, I could probably get Fall River, who ordered way too many the last time, to sell them to you at whatever cost they got a few years ago, which was a lot cheaper than they're selling them now. And then I could bring them up to you with that if you wanted to try out something smaller rather than ordering a larger quantity off of state contract.
Well, I mean, is there a like small, medium, large sizing, if you will?
Yeah, so you can do that. Almost no municipality does that, for the simple reason it just makes more work for you, more organization, more like keeping track of how many you sold and stuff. So usually they just go with the biggest one. And then this bin is they're two different companies, but the one bin you can actually, I think, make it a little bit smaller. It's like plastic sheeting kind of thing, like really rigid plastic. And you kind of put it together with little pins. And I think you can make it smaller, but
No, I
you
was just
don't-
trying to get a feel
Yep.
for,
Oh.
what we're dealing with, that's all. And if
yeah,
it's like,
okay.
what's the optimum size you're finding out?
Yeah,
That's-
yeah. So that is the optimum size. Yeah, you don't want to make it
Okay.
too small. Yeah, exactly. And it's based on, science. Like Tom was talking about the compost piles heating up, that it needs to be a certain size. And so that is optimized for that.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
Last week, in one of some papers that I read, I came across an article on backyard composting. I'll get it into your office tomorrow.
Missy, I have a question. So
Yep.
are you suggesting the backyard compost is everything? Or is it the backyard compost yard waste and then food waste goes to the town compost pile?
Nope. So right now your town pile does not take food waste. It only takes yard waste.
Mhm.
But the perfect mix of a really good compost pile in the backyard is having some of those yard waste scraps and having your food as well. Yeah,
And
so
then
it's a combination.
Yeah, and where can we find if you could like forward us like for education purposes, what exactly is food waste? I mean, you throw some
Yep.
chicken bones in there and
Nope,
stuff.
nope.
and-
So
Yeah,
so
that,
that yeah, that's the other part of this, is that there needs to be an education component. And I provide tons of information. Tom already gets it every year. He probably is tired of seeing it every year. Of putting that out there. I can also come down and do like live demos and talk about it and all this stuff. And then also Tom's assistant, Heather, I think, she's a super composting queen already. And so she and I were talking all about composting. So you have like in-house a really good expert already. So you can do little social media things, but yeah, we would go over exactly what it is and how to do it. And meat is not something, or meat bones is not something we would recommend in there. We kind of want to cut down on the vermin factor. And that
Yeah.
does seem to be attracting more animals. These things are lidded. But again, you do want to kind of make it easier on that. So yeah, we can go through
Okay.
all of that. I can
Thank you.
pop in at the senior center. We can do a show. We can do whatever, but
So I got two questions.
Yep.
First, for the reporting side, do we got to prove that it's working?
what do you mean that it's working?
How do we prove we took the X amount of pounds out of the waste?
Oh, so no. The only way it gets proved that you're doing this to Mass DEP for, the points or whatever, is
Right,
we ask you how many you sold that year.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
they must have a formula to figure that out. And then
Yeah.
the second question was the RDP grant. So what's the nuts and bolts timelines? What should we be shooting for?
So if you wanted to start this program, it would need to be up and running by June 30th, because it runs on a calendar year. So that's what I was saying, is if you want to make this easier and faster, I'll be down in Fall River, I think, next week. If you do want that, I can arrange it with them and I can pick them up for you and bring them up. If not, then in the meantime, you would need to go through the state contract, and I can send that to you if you don't have it. And then you would have to order the bins directly from those companies. One of the companies actually is local. I think it's out of New Bedford anyway, so it's not like a really long thing, but there is some
And
time delay.
We can have the money that we've been banking, pay for this. correct?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And you need to decide though, I think they're running about $65 each now, but you need to decide how much a resident's going to pay. And I really would encourage the town to subsidize it, to be honest. You want to get
Yes.
people to start trying this. So $30 seems to be kind of like a sweet spot that a lot of towns are subsidizing it at.
April now.
So that's why I'm kind of throwing out the Fall River thing. So if you want, we could literally start running with getting the education out there, getting a flyer, telling residents it's available, they can pre-order them, and then I can just get them from Fall River for you as needed. But I think my car could hold probably 4 to 8.
Is there an incentive program to get people to do this?
Not, not really. Well, yes, though the fact is that the town is covering half of the cost of it. That would be the incentive program. But basically, it's just telling your residents that, this stuff is not going into your pay-as-you-throw bags. So that means you can put other stuff in there. It also means
There's less
that the
bags.
That's the
animals,
incentive.
yeah, that's the
That,
incentive.
the education component, we're taking X amount of percentage out of,
I understand.
yeah, that would be the incentive, because the overall cost that's costing the town
Yeah.
is the tonnage.
Yeah, and another really important thing is that when you're removing the food scraps from your curbside pay-as-you-throw bags, you're cutting down on those animal scavengers that are ripping the bags and stuff as well. So I think that's a huge incentive.
Right. So to here and now, today, how do we move forward? Do we want to actually come up with a number, or do we want to work on this till the next meeting?
A number of what, for
How many you want to get if we're going to move forward?
the backyard recycling?
Compost.
Well, if it's. So Missy, to
Can I
get
make a s-
credit for it, we have to have it in place by the end of June, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So we have to,
So-
we should act on it.
To get
Yeah,
it in this year,
exactly,
we could get it
exactly.
in next year's though, couldn't we?
We could.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said that's to get it in this year's, but we could get it in
Correct.
next year's too, right?
Yep. So you would still get points for it every year. The thing is, I want to try and get you as many points as possible this year. Well, every year I want to do that. But right now, like I said, if you wanted to just say, I could pick up 5 bins from Fall River for you. That would allow you to go ahead, create a flyer, come up with a price, and then take pre-orders from your residents. And so we could see how many people, want them, and then we could move ahead from there. And like I said, if you need to get more from Fall River, I'm sure they'd love to have you help them clear out their storage area for the way too many that they ordered. So
What's the backup plan if they don't, if the proposal doesn't fly with the people?
Well, if we
Status
only,
quo.
yeah, if we only order 4, so we're down 4 barrels.
yeah,
So it's 120, 240, 200, we're out $250.
and what I would
No, I'm not
suggest,
talking, I'm talking about people resisting, not wanting to do it.
Well, if they don't want to, yeah, if they don't want to do it, then they don't. And this is to take more waste out of the stream, right? So this is
And not everyone's required to do it.
yeah, we're not requiring people to do it. If people are resistant to it, then they don't do it.
You haven't spent much, it's not much of a loss if you've only bought 4 bins.
exactly.
But thinking from that point of view, I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
how popular is the program now? It's been around for years. How many people have composted in their backyard in Dayton right now?
I've tried it before and the animals scavenge it. If I had a bin to put it in, I'd probably do it. I tried, but
Yeah.
I was feeding more of the animals than.
It just,
I know.
to my way of thinking, it just
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be a popular program. For
Well,
people to do it on their own.
Well, how about
So
this? I
I'm
think
sorry.
if you're going to, first of all, let's not think about the 30th of June, just for just a minute, okay? And that timeline. Number one, it's a program that's been around forever. And I think we need to, I think after a good education program, I mean, spend the money to put a flyer out there, and we can put a flyer together, but the focus of the flyer being, hey, if you compost, you're taking state average 20 to 30% of the weight out of your bag. B, you can put more stuff in your bags, so you're using less bags. You're going to end up with a nice compost that you can use in your garden or for your rose bushes or whatever, and it reduces the overall weight that we pay Borges to take away, therefore reducing the overall cost of the program. And to me, that's the first thing. And in addition to that, 4 bins that you could say to people, you take a photograph of the bins or say, hey, come on and take a look at these things and what do you think? And then go out and say, okay, after the education piece, how many of you want to give this a go? Because we're willing to pay, just to throw out your number, $30 and it costs you 35 or vice versa. But I don't want to try to squash it all into, and it may fit into the time we have between now and the 30th of June, but I just don't want to, to say we can gain a couple of points. I'd rather have the program be successful.
Yeah.
That's my
I think
view.
we would have to act like now. We can't wait for
I
the
agree.
next meeting for June, if
Yeah.
we're squeezing the June 30th, then it might be.
Well,
I
to be
agree.
honest, this is the time of the year. This is right at the sweet spot where towns are kind of rolling out their programs for the year, even though they've done this over the years. So this is the time to do it because everyone's kind of cleaning up their yards already. So they've got, extra leaves and things like that. So people are thinking about gardening and all this stuff now. So yeah, it needs to be kind of almost done immediately. We have Mass DP, we have all these resources all over. I could, by tomorrow, I could flood your email with, 10 different things. Everything from
Okay.
cute little videos to flyers. I have new flyers. I have old school flyers that are really excellent. And it just, it can make it really, pretty much as fast. And then Elizabeth, I know I've seen some of the work she's done and she does some great work with the flyers and stuff like that. So it's just pretty much a matter of, me providing some basic information and, all that kind of stuff. And
Let me ask you this. If she were to send a lot of this information to you, would you be willing to accept it? Because if you
I
are,
can make a
I'll sit
flyer.
down with you and we can draft up a flyer.
I can definitely make a
Okay.
flyer.
All right?
I
No,
just
mean, we
need
can-
the picture of the bin and
Yeah,
what if we
Yeah.
did a poll? Like Facebook is the place where everybody goes
Right.
to complain and to
Yes.
find stuff.
yeah, the
What if we
three-
did a poll on the Facebook page
Right.
saying, would you be interested, and see where it goes?
Yeah.
You recommend that before, or after the education piece? What do you think?
I would probably want to educate them first
Right,
and then give
yeah.
them the poll and say, would you want to take part?
No,
in this?
exactly.
Yeah.
I think then you're gonna gauge right away after education, and offer people up the advantages of saying, yeah, instead of throwing it in here and having Borges drive off with it, you're gonna have to take it from here and maybe put it in a little bin and then take it out and back and throw it in your compost bin. But that's the downside. The upside is all those things we just addressed, for them personally and for the overall, budget of the town.
So what if you do a poll and you don't get the results you're looking for? Are we gonna
Then you
go
don't do
forward
it.
with it?
Then
We don't do it.
we don't do it.
No,
But you
yeah.
still gain,
But,
you still gain the education component though, every time you do something like that.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, if people say,
but if we don't do that program, then that garbage that was supposed to go in the compost to go in the backyard, it's now gonna go back into this.
it's
the
going
system.
there now.
Yeah.
We're trying to take it out of the system.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's just gonna stay in there. It's gonna be status quo. No change. People are gonna just throw the potato peels in a Borges bag as opposed to not throwing it in there and throwing it in their composting thing.
Guess I didn't make my point clear.
No, didn't.
So Missy, you can bring us a barrel from Fall River, or do we have to
Yep.
purchase it?
I'll go get it because I'm going to be working with them on a technical assistance. I'll be down there a lot. So, and I kind of drive right by you guys to get back home. So I'll be in the neighborhood. So yeah, I think it's next week I will be with them next. So I'll get but I can give you I can give you a photo of what they look like already. And then you can have,
They don't have to bring them up.
No, you can just
Photograph.
send me a photo.
Photograph.
yeah, okay. Well, sometimes people like to have it like an actual model in the town hall or whatever, so people can see it, but it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it would be nice. See how
Okay.
big it is.
And what,
It's a 65
photograph-
gallon?
Yeah, that plus photograph plus a barrel. So what does this look?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
You'll be
are we done with
surprised-
that for now? There's nothing else to act on, or
I would move that we develop an education flyer on this potential composting of food waste.
I'd second it.
any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I would volunteer to assist on that.
Sounds good.
Make sure you get that in your notes.
And Elizabeth, I can also help, so.
I don't
Okay,
volunteer
thank
much after
you.
that first time. I put my hand up.
I hear you.
Last item in old business, the curbside bulky week. Reminder, May 12th through 16th. Elizabeth asked me this morning about the message boards. Yeah, we'll put them on the message board, but there seems to be a lot of demand for the message boards right now.
Was that the only time during the year they're gonna pick up bulky stuff?
Mhm.
We do it once a year.
I'll have Leanne repost it on social media.
And do it quite well.
I've only sold 6 tags. So they'll all come before.
Will that be on the sign
Will what be on the sign, the dates?
that the town does it only once a year?
No, we've historically done it once a year.
But on the sign, will it be on the sign?
There's not
Um,
room.
I could put annual.
Okay. Yeah, that would be, yeah, that would have caught, yeah.
I know how to spell that, so we're good there.
You don't?
I do.
Oh.
Good.
Sorry.
Oh, that's no. That would be a good idea, I think.
Okay. All right, new business. Items received at transfer station, the rug scenario, I didn't move forward with it because after the meeting, I realized the rug that Bob's gonna get rid of and the rug that Mr. Neely's gonna get rid of are 2 different sizes. So what are you buying when you charge for $50? So that's why it's not on a new price list yet. Is there any other way that we could resolve this? Or just don't take rugs? Some other towns take them, usually they weigh them because it's going somewhere else where it's got a scale. We don't have a scale. It's not gonna be worth investing in a scale for that. Pepperell, they charge by the cubic yard.
You could have a scale, not a weight scale, but a number scale, 3x5 rug, so much, 12x10, so much.
How do you know, how are you gonna know as the attendant what size it is?
Well, you can measure one of the dimensions if they roll it up.
Yeah,
You can measure one dimension.
yeah, so Pepperell, they go by the rolls and they charge by the cubic yard.
Well, let me ask you, this. Where would, once it's accepted by the town, where does it go from there? How is it disposed of from the transfer station?
It either go to NER or go to New Bedford, depending on Mr. Borges's, he keeps track of the market.
And it's,
So right now, they're encouraged to cut it up in the town bag. So if it's a very large rug, they're probably hiring someone anyways.
is this something that the price goes down? If it's by weight, does the price go down as you have more weight, or is it just linear? You know, in other words, if you send 500 pounds of rugs, it's one price per pound versus 1,500 pounds of rugs. Does the price diminish as, you know, the weight increases, or is it?
No, it just go by the tonnage.
Okay.
And
By
the rug
tonnage.
is one of them items that when it's wet, it's heavy.
Oh, yeah.
So
And-
it stays
and
out in the
dirty.
weather there.
Yeah.
Someone can bring it in dry and it stays there until it's time to pick up and it's soaking wet. So we're gonna pay for the rain too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think rugs are a necessary weight that we shouldn't take. One. but if we do take it, I would like to see them in not $50 per rug, but a price per 4-foot roll. Because that's usually how, I know how towns do it. They cut them up in 4-foot rolls. Do we do
So
$10
the
a
reason,
4-foot roll? Go ahead, miss.
yeah, so they're usually done with that roll thing because
Yeah.
it's easier for the drivers
Yeah,
and for them to handle. The
yeah,
big thing with any rugs is that, as Tom mentioned, is the weight. And so
Yeah.
if you go strictly by size, some rugs are heavy. I mean, just, buying them when they're not wet or dirty or anything, they're
Mhm.
going to be lighter depending on what they're made from.
yeah,
So the weight, and then the other thing is when they're dirty, they also pick up weight. So, it's one of those, you go by size, it's not really truly capturing the data of like how much you're gonna pay by the weight. That makes sense?
What if you made them cut it to a certain size?
well, that's what I said, in 4-foot rolls, most places do it in, regardless of whether it's like a nylon rug, a wool rug, or,
Yeah,
and you
Yeah.
do it in 4-foot, right? So you do it in
Yes,
4-foot
yeah.
rolls.
yeah,
So, but,
So my thought on, if you got it up, just cut it up and put it in the bag.
yeah.
That's where it was
Yeah,
in the beginning.
yeah.
But if you have 6 rooms that you're doing,
You're probably hiring someone
yeah,
and they can take care of it.
Yeah, and they can cut it.
Area rugs.
they have rugs and the
Yeah.
backing and the.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's,
And the thing is-
I don't think
I'm
it's a
sorry.
problem to keep it off the list. It's not on the list right now.
Yeah,
And putting it at the curb is, like I said, you're capturing the bag sales, which you've kind of figured out the weight in there already, it's, and again, it's not something you have to deal with at the transfer station where it's going to pick up more dirt and water possibly from being out in the open, it's going to end up costing you more. So
Mm.
the bag idea, cutting it into that 4-foot rolls will fit in the bags.
well, whatever size they want, that makes it fit in the bag.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then put it
Yeah.
out curbside. They're
Yeah.
probably not gonna leave it out in the weather long anyways. So
no.
that would protect us from paying the overage.
Well, how many rugs have we had come in the past 6 months? Just,
I haven't seen them. It's not in the list.
so,
She's trying to get phone calls now because it's bulky item pickup and she goes by this list. So we need to help
Took
Elizabeth,
them last year.
not just us. We need to help her out too.
well, no, yeah.
What did we do last year for the rug?
I remember selling some, I'll have to look. I wanna say it was $20. There was some last year.
Yeah, and then how, she can't see it over the phone. So we're not gonna know until we get there.
Mhm.
It's not an easy thing at all.
Well, what is just a flat fee out there? I don't,
Well, last meeting,
Yeah.
we voted $50. But after the meeting, I realized, what is that $50 buying you? Yes, $50 makes sense, because that'll cover wet rugs, dirty rugs. Rug's too big, that'll cover it. Basically, if 2 guys, 3 guys can carry it, it's probably $50 anyways.
so could you have a, sake of argument, let's say you got a 10 by 12 room. Okay, large carpet like that, a large rug, $50 for that. If you've got a roll up like a throw rug or something, $20. And when they come in for the sticker, they have to say, she has to ask, what are you throwing away? This is what I'm throwing away. It's a $20 sticker. What are you throwing away? Full room, that's $50. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah. So the area rugs are going in the town bags already. They're not going to the transfer station, because they can fit in there.
Right.
Or they cut it up once,
Yeah,
one
but
cut.
Aren't we talking about the 1 day?
Rug in general,
Yeah.
rug in general, right? Someone that wants to bring it there. They think that's where it's supposed to go. I don't think that's where it's supposed to go.
Well, what have people done in the past? I mean, have they thrown the rugs in there?
Before July 1st last year, it was part of construction debris. It would come in truckloads. But we needed to stop that because there was no way to quantify the weights that were coming in.
Yeah.
And that would be one of the things we needed to capture.
No, but I mean, for this, I thought we were focusing on this bulky waste day in terms of people putting things
Yes.
out there.
Well, there's
How to charge for it.
multiple layers to the request, yes. The here and now is Elizabeth, and also she bases her decisions on this list. So does our attendant.
So where are we with the rug? Okay.
I say we don't take it. Encourage them to cut it up and put it in a bag. That's where I am.
Okay,
Boy,
If you're gonna change multiple rooms in a house, you're hiring someone.
have to go and buy a new pair of scissors to cut up the rug.
Or the guy that's installing them takes them away.
well,
Well, that was a question I was gonna ask you. When you buy a rug, don't you make
Yeah.
a deal with
They
the
usually
seller
take it
to
all
take it
away,
back?
Yeah,
I normally do.
and that would be an education component also. People need to know that.
You're right. It would be an education component, yes.
So you're talking more like area rugs. People, I'm tired of my area rug. Or my dog did a number on it. It's time to get rid of it, you know. I would say no to rugs.
Missy, do you see a problem with us having rugs as an unaccepted item
Near annual bulky waste thing?
and the transfer
Collection.
station?
No, I mean, it's, you can do whatever you want. And again, residents can cut it up and
Hmm.
put it into the Paytee bag. So it's not like they don't have any options. So no, I mean, I don't see any problem. Because like I said, I live in Shrewsbury. We do not have a recycling center at all. So that is what our residents do, is we put them in, our Paytee bags, or like everyone has been saying, the vendor who, is putting in your new carpet takes the old stuff away. Again, like getting residents to start thinking about that, because there's a cost involved.
So since we voted last meeting, I charged $50, do we need to vote to retract that and then another vote not to put it as an unaccepted item? Is that the route we gotta do, 2 motions?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but, we need to have some discussion on each motion.
We can have more. Because we need a motion made in second, then he's
Well,
discussion.
first of all,
Yeah.
do we want your thoughts? Keep rugs? Are you saying keep rugs on the list?
No, I'm not, after listening to the discussion here, I would say no.
You can put them in the town bags, you're just not gonna take
No,
them to
no, no,
transfer.
yeah, I get
You're
it.
not taking them to
Yeah.
transfer station or the curbside, the bulky item pickup.
The standard answer would be cut it up and put it in a bag, or have
Yeah.
the dealer take the rug away. Something going through your head, I can tell.
Thinking how to cut it up because I use that box cutter. I've cut rugs before. I haven't used the big scissor. I'm like, that's a.
Yeah,
get a
No,
good utility knife.
the utility knife, yeah, that does it,
yep,
And like I
yep.
say, it's usually area rugs, because you're right, the wall to walls, usually if you order a new one,
A few
the
more bucks and they
installer
take
takes
it
it,
away.
yeah, and they take,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's everything, that's the rug, that's the backing, that's the whole, all that.
Exactly.
Everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and it's the tax, it's a lot. So,
I'd like to entertain a motion to have the rugs as an unaccepted item on a transfer station list. And also for the annual bulky item pickup. Is that first? I'd like to. entertain
So
a
moved.
motion.
No, you said you were entertaining.
Yes.
So I thought you,
yeah,
Right. So he made a motion, you seconded it?
correct.
Okay. Any further discussion on that?
So if somebody calls your department and asks what to do with the rugs, you are prepared to answer the question for them?
With this information today, yes.
Okay,
And so Elizabeth also.
okay.
if you think about it, well, it would be cheaper for them to cut it up and put it in a bag.
Oh,
Pay
yeah.
$50,
Yep.
so,
You ever cut up a rug?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
plenty of rugs. Believe me, it's a pain. That's,
I totally agree with you.
yeah.
Any more discussion?
Mm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'd like to entertain a motion to retract last month's vote for the charging rugs for $50.
Can I vote? Because I didn't vote on that last time.
See, here's the thing. So the person, if you were there and you voted in the positive for it, that person needs to make the motion to retract a motion. So, Mr. Neely, were you there at last meeting?
I was at the last meeting.
Yeah, because I was not.
I left early.
Does you get a tip of your tongue who did it?
You better.
No, well, it's not the person who did it has to make it. It's just if you voted in the affirmative for it. And if you are on the winning side.
Karen made the motion and Dave Neely seconded.
So we can't do anything because Peter's not here.
No, if you voted, anyone who voted on the winning side, take this Robert's Rules of Procedures. I don't mean if we're following that, it really doesn't matter. But technically, if you voted on the winning side, you can vote to rescind or to rescind that motion. So because you voted on the winning side, I didn't,
I did not.
yeah, Bob didn't,
Which means,
Yeah.
Mr. Neely, you can retract the
Yeah.
motion. They can't because they weren't
yeah,
here.
yeah.
I don't think Peter was here at the last meeting either.
Yeah, he was on TV. He zoomed in.
Wanna make the motion?
What do you want me to say?
Make a motion to retract the charges that we voted on last meeting, the $50 charge.
Make a motion to retract what?
The $50 charge for rugs,
Okay.
transfer station.
I'll make a motion that we retract a motion we made for $50 for the disposal of rugs at the last meeting.
Yes, second.
Okay,
Can I vote?
we can vote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving right along.
Should have made a motion and voted again.
You would have too, I
Yeah.
know you would.
Mm.
All right, so we got two more items in new business. That's probably like a Missy thing. B is grant opportunities and C is technical assistant grants.
Okay, so long time ago, when Michael, the previous town manager, had approached me for my grant time with you, it was for a very specific grant for contracting and for pricing for your pay-as-you-throw bags. So that issue has been taken care of, correct?
I'm gonna
Pay
say-
as you go, bag?
So
Yeah.
you said a couple of things there.
Okay,
Which
so,
one is taken care of?
okay, so pay-as-you-throw bags,
Mhm.
and your whole contract, and your contract with Borges, that has been renewed, or everything is
It's in the
moving ahead?
process of renewal.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then we were working for quite a long time about pay-as-you-throw cost of the bags, also looking at fees, have we resolved that issue?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say this. Meaning, removing, are you suggesting, or I'm saying the selectmen are entertaining the idea of taking the paying for the garbage outside of the budget and making it a true user fee. Is that what you see?
What?
So we're going to examine that possibility.
What is
Very-
that?
Okay, so you're still examining that part. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Then
So
that
just,
is still, yep, okay.
give me 1 second, Missy.
Yep.
So the residents pay for their trash through their taxes. That costs the town north of $800,000. So the selectmen, and we're in the hole about $800,000 because of the our obligations to pay the capital improvements at Bristol Aggie and Bristol Plymouth. So once again, the selectmen are thinking of taking that out of the budget and making it a user fee, sort of collecting from the town. If you want to use trash, we'll charge you, $50 a quarter, Or, and what does that, how does that work? So we would collect almost $800,000 in user fees to pay for trash collection. That's it in a rough nutshell. So
And for those who don't want to participate,
they don't,
then we pay less because we have less participants.
yeah,
So that makes sense.
yeah. So it's like a strict user fee.
All right, so that fits under the technical assistance. That's why she brought it up.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So I can still, so my technical assistance program with you is still valid. So it's
Okay.
still moving ahead. Okay. Yeah. My bosses, I can't have too many because it gets a little crazy for me. So they just want to know what is still ongoing and what has been resolved and what needs to be closed out. But from what you're telling me, no, you still need my assistance. And I would highly encourage when the select board has this discussion, and Ralph, when you
Yeah.
also have it, that I kind of be involved.
Yes.
Some towns, and you're not the only one. It's a delicate balance. The thing is, you don't want a lot of your residents to stop using your trash program because your contract with Borges is kind of based on it as well. So it's a
Right.
very delicate balance and the cost. So one town is like, I think it's Hopkinton, their residents pretty much pay the whole entire, cost. It's like $647. Which is really huge. But because you have pay as you throw, there's like, a little sweet spot. And then the idea that you need to have with the select board and bring this up is that the pay-t bag costs need to be reviewed ideally annually, but that's not
Yep.
going to fly, but at least biannually or something, because to have that price stay the same when literally every year your program costs go up is just absolutely crazy. So, getting them to understand that that also needs to change, every couple of years.
And we all good right now?
I just have a question. This fee that the selectmen are considering, is that an annual fee, quarterly fee? Semi-annual?
I'm gonna say what we had looked at in the past, a quarterly fee to go out with your taxes.
So that's $200 a year.
That was the number that was kind of floated around last time. Yeah.
What was that based on?
Uh,
How did they arrive at that figure?
I don't know. I didn't look at it that hard, but that was the number I saw. So I'm sure it was based on, what the costs were. And, yeah,
Well, I don't know if this is the appropriate format, but I'll discuss it anyway.
Yeah.
Back to Elizabeth's point. What if people don't buy in? Okay, they can go private,
yep,
okay, fine, which then raises the baseline cost for everybody else. If a third of the residents in town elect to go on their own, that $50 fee now has to be increased up to $75 to cover that 800K amount. I mean,
But it
are they
won't
looking
be
at those
100K
balances?
if we don't have that much weight.
Well, I understand that, but right now, we do have the weight.
Yeah.
And we're looking at ways to reduce the weight, but that's where we are today. And we
Right.
haven't moved forward to, with any programs, we're discussing them to reduce the weight. One thing we did positively was the bags, pay as you throw, which were less appropriated funds, pay as you throw. I mean, we're still paying out of appropriated funds for the recycling. So I mean, there's a lot of moving parts in this.
oh, I don't disagree with
you
you.
know.
So if we take that, the total amount and spread it over the tax base, what are we talking about?
I think that was the number when I was looking at some of the old notes. So the selectman had just brought it up. We're gonna look at it. If that's what they agreed to do, we're gonna look at it pretty hard going into June, July to present options, what they want to do. So at that time, I'll have a better idea of what the number is. The kind of number that I saw that Mike was presenting was about that $50 a quarter.
They also charge a hauler fee. So people who want to go privatize, companies that are coming into town would have to be permitted.
So, And then also, I mean, some of the things they were looking at, because, it's $50 and then there's a senior discount, so there's a lot, and there are a lot of moving parts to it. So,
Yeah, because you can't charge everybody the same, because he lives alone and I live with 5 people.
You should pay. You should pay for me and him.
Well, so to be honest, what a lot of logic, a lot of the communities use is that the Pay-T bags would cover the disposal fee of your contract. The annual fee would cover the recycling and the contract thing. So that would eliminate the unfairness of, a single household with somebody with 5, because it doesn't matter, whatever, you still have that contract with Borges at the end of the day. It's the disposal part that really goes up and down, and that's where the Pay-T bags come in. The other thing I would highly recommend you to do with this discussion is to call other local haulers, private haulers, to see what they charge, because I've heard anywhere from $500 to $700 for a resident to do that on their own. So it is expensive. So, in case residents automatically say, well, fine, I'll just go do my own.
Right.
It is a
Right.
significant expense. And that's again where it's an art and also a numbers balance of what that annual fee will be. What will help the budget, and then also what your residents will entertain. And the 200, that really kind of is a very standard amount with other communities.
You don't charge a recycling fee though. You don't have to charge a fee for recycling.
No, it's in the appropriated funds. Comes out of appropriated funds. Because remember that discussion we had some time ago about $100? There was a proposal for $100 and we just said, no, that's uneven, pay as you throw, pay as you recycle.
And then, so what was the other thing for me? Oh, I
The
just
other-
wanted to,
Grant, the other thing was grant opportunities.
yeah, so all the things that I talked about last week, working with whoever is kind of, doing the programming, like there are little changes this year that need to kind of happen for you to just get the same amount of points that you had last year. Little kind of minor tweaks. So who should I be working with to make sure that those get changed or updated? A lot of them are little things like things need to go on the website. Like we need to make sure that, there's nowhere on the town information that pizza boxes cannot be recycled, little things like that. So I just need to know. who I
Website
would work
related,
with.
Missy, I'll take it.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I'll
well, I
we'll
think
set up-
if you don't mind, like, Liz, you'd be the point person, and then you tell either Tom or me or Leanne, or can you put it on the town website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There is,
yeah.
well, we're speaking of the website. I did Google it to get price lists, and it took a few tries because the outdated ones are still there, easy accessible. I
Really?
think Leanne has a way of getting them removed.
Right.
If you can look at that yourself,
Yeah.
or ask someone sitting next to you to look up the price and see what they come up with. I bet you they're gonna come up with an outdated one, please.
Is that on your page or the health department's page?
Health,
All right, I'll see if I can get it to wipe it out.
yep.
Yeah, it's one of those weird analytics things where I don't know how to do it, but IT people are pretty good at it. Making sure I think you can actually put parameters on when you want that information to be deleted on there, but it might be a really high skill
Right.
level. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of it'll be a lot of website stuff.
Yeah, the newest one on the top, it says effective date.
Yeah. 7/1.
I don't know if we want to just, at first, I didn't want to have a year on it, like 2025, but so at a glance, when someone's just going online, they need to see.
I agree. I mean, they know what's
Yeah.
the latest version.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah,
gonna have a new
exactly.
date in the top here anyways, Elizabeth, because we're gonna add unaccepted items, be rugs.
Roads.
And so we can change the, edit it on the bottom and then have a new date in the top, the effective date.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so just point out that the grant now is officially open and that there is, you know, the deadline and to go through all that stuff. And then also, Tom, there are some other larger grants. So I don't know if you wanted to look at them. They're called waste reduction grants. So they're kind of bigger picture kind of things. So let's say if we wanted to put a reusable dishware in the schools or, you know, bigger picture kind of grants as well. We can look into that as well. But they do require a lot more planning and I don't know if you really quite have time right now to go ahead with that, but you might want to look at that for next year.
Okay.
And then one last thing I want to mention is household hazardous waste. How do residents in Dayton get rid of their household hazardous waste?
I get that question 3 times a month.
So what I usually ask right away, and it usually solves the problem, is what is it that you have for hazardous waste?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Okay.
Paint.
It's usually
Okay.
latex paint. It's,
I've got
the education is not out there yet.
yard fertilizers and weed killers, and I suggested calling a landscaper and see if they'll take it.
Use them up as the right thing to do. Yep.
So
Fine.
using them up is the right thing to do. Although I do know that with your contract with CMAS and probably Borges has a contract as well, that there kind of has to be a plan for that kind of thing. So you might want to check with him. But what I'm also throwing out there is I'm in the process of creating a regional and reciprocal household hazardous waste program. There would be some financial buy-in from the town, depending on what we go with. It would probably be $2,000 to $3,000. But your residents could possibly use an event at another town. They could come to yours. You could share with, you know, an abutting town to have their program. But I just wanted to throw out this idea that I'm really working on multiple avenues for this because it is really important. The other thing is the state is kind of in the process of having working groups of creating other things like household hazardous products. And so that kind of is more like the stuff you kind of have under your kitchen sink kind of thing. But yeah, using them up is the definite thing. But in my case, you know, when my father-in-law died and, you know, over the spring and I had to clean out their house, you know, what do I do with it? I mean, I had boxes and boxes of stuff. So there are people, you know, moving in and out that do have these situations. So it is kind of good to have it. So I'm just throwing that out there. Once I have more information, I'll let you know about that. But it's just a kind of a good way to share the cost with other municipalities and give your residents more options.
Right. So, yeah, I'm aware of those things. So it's been a few years since we had one ourselves.
Yeah.
I do question though, if we went stronger with the education component, so you're not having hazardous waste to begin with, would that cover your concerns with like CMAS and the hauler?
I don't know, again, because you guys were one of the original signers from CMAS, I don't know. So everyone has a different contract with CMAS. So you would probably want to chat with Borges about that, or even look at your old contract or however you do it. But yeah, I never even knew there was a component to it until I started seeing more recent contracts and went, oh, okay. So, you know, it's there.
We had like 3 or 4 of them since I've been living in town, and I always thought they were very successful. There
Right.
seemed to be a lot of people there.
But you're not new in town,
No, I'm not.
so we only had
Let's get too long.
we really haven't had that many.
Yeah,
At least
they're
3 I
very
can remember of.
Right.
they are expensive. But the thing is, by working with, you know, your budding towns, you could all share an event and share the cost and yet give everyone, you know, the option, you know, for getting rid of the waste and stuff. So it's just something I'm throwing out there.
What did you have, at the transfer station or at the school? or-
Transfer station.
Okay.
So
All figured
that
out.
can be, That can be a topic for another day, but I just wanted to throw that out there right now.
But that was good information that it was a requirement. It may be a requirement in that contract. That was something I was not aware of.
And like I said, until a few months ago, I didn't realize it was in anyone's contract either until I started actually seeing those newer contracts with the waste facilities.
Okay. Any other items that was overlooked? Next meetings, May 5th, 3 o'clock work? Want a different time?
Okay with me.
May 5th works.
Public input?
Where is it? Has there ever been any public at any of these meetings?
Cinco de Mayo.
So we got minutes that need to be approved from March 3rd. If you want, do we want to table them? You guys? All right, the motion to table them?
Move to table in minutes of March 3rd.
Any further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I made the motion.
You made the motion.
I second.
Okay. Adjournment.
Just waiting for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nice seeing you again, Missy.
Hi, thank
Keep at
you.
it. Take care.
I'll send you stuff. Bye.
Thank you.
4:13.
Volunteer statement.